Do the wiggles. The what? The bird. Oh. Welcome to the Brave Fit and Thriving podcast, the #1 podcast to help you live your best fucking life. This is my best friend and one of my first online clients, Angela. She started coaching with me. What was it like? It wasn't last. Oh, it was the June before last June.
Yeah, it was the June before last June. So
yeah, it was the June before last June. Before I actually even started online coaching, I was dipping my toes in it because I did personal training and I was, moving on to online. So she was one of my first clients, and she was struggling with her weight loss. She had PCOS, and let's kind of chat a little bit about that, and then we'll also kind of go over some festival hacks that we have come up with because we are also festy besties. We go to a ton of festivals together, and we hype each other up, but we also make sure we keep each other aligned because sometimes one of us might get a little bit too rowdy. Just a little bit. You need that one friend that keeps you a little bit more grounded, and we do that for each other. So let's chat a little bit about your journey. So first, tell us, what was the turning point? Well, actually, first, let's backtrack. How much did you weigh when you first started?
I weighed around 180, 186.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And how did you feel when you were going through that period of time?
Oh gosh, sluggish and crap all the time. I was overeating. I would get depressed and I'd eat some more. And then, continuously gain weight. My sleep was crap. My focus was crap because, you already know I have ADHD and you do too. So you understand.
Yeah, shift food, it feels good in the moment, but it actually does not help ADHD.
It actually makes everything a lot worse. And in the long run, you feel crappier.
Yeah. And so what was the turning point that you realized that you needed to lose some of the extra weight that you were carrying? Because you're what, 5'4"?
5'2".
5'2". Yeah, you're 5'2". So 180 pounds on a 5'2" frame is quite a lot. And it could be very stressful on her joints, her internal organs. So, kind of tell us, what was the turning point that you realized that you needed to lose this extra weight? And then also, how did PCOS play a role in this process for you?
I think there's a few things, really. My mom, she has congestive heart failure, and she's been overweight most of her life. And then, I kind of picked up the same habits growing up. And because, I don't know if you notice it, but in, lower income families and homes, you can't really eat healthy because the cost of food is so expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So eating healthy and taking care of yourself is just it just doesn't happen like that. Mm-hmm. So she got diagnosed with congestive heart failure, high blood pressure, kidney disease, and cardiomyopathy, and ended up in the hospital consistently because of the fat around her heart. And that was where I was just okay, this runs in my family big time. I've got to make changes because if I don't, then I'm not going to be able to live my life. So it was a combination of that. I was sleeping like crap. I felt really uncomfortable in my skin. And I just didn't like the way I looked or I felt either.
And how did you feel physically?
I was really depressed. I'm not going to lie. It put me in a really big, deep depression where I was a little suicidal at times. I won't lie. Yeah, no, it's okay. It just happens.
I know, but I'm so glad that you're here.
No, it just, you get bullied because obviously people are some of the worst critics you can have sometimes when it comes to your body.
And then you start becoming your own critic when those bullies move on in life.
100%. The words that are spoken to you become the words that you feel internally all the time.
It becomes your own voice.
Yeah, it becomes your own voice, even though it's not actually your voice. It gets, imprinted into your brain, you know what, they're right, which they're really not in reality.
Yeah.
But that's when I started making those changes. And for a while, I won't lie, I fell off a couple times, and then COVID hit. And then, of course, stagnant.
COVID made everything.
Oh, yeah.
So much fucking harder.
It did. Because then, at that point, I was just okay, what's the point? But I still made it a point to get outside, walk around, do some exercises and stuff like that. That way, I didn't feel all the progress that I did create was just, not there anymore.
Yeah. Going back to when COVID started, even though we were supposed to stay inside so much, people were afraid to even go outside on walks. So they're oh, what if somebody else is walking on the street and I walk by them? I know that was a paranoia that stuck with me when COVID first hit. They made it sound so contagious and so deadly that I actually even became afraid to go walking down the street, because I was like, what if somebody passes by me and breathes? Like just freaking breathes, and I get one little droplet of COVID and boom, I give it to my mom, who, you know, she also has a lot of health issues as well. And so I relate a lot to how you feel, you know, with your upbringing. My mom was also low income. She also has a lot of health issues that also kind of spurred me to taking steps to improving my own health, because I don't want to go down that path either. I see what happens. And, you know, when you do have an unhealthy body, you also have an unhealthy mind. And even though we like to say that our depression is the reason why we're unhealthy, or why we might be struggling with our weight, why we might be struggling with our fitness, it actually can also be the other way around. And it's very difficult because one affects the other and the other affects the other. And it's just like, it's very difficult to crack open and focus on your body, because that is going to help your mental health, but your mental health is making it more difficult for you to break through and be more active. And then with COVID, the paranoia, the anxiety, the fear driven that was in us, like, even though some of it, like, yes, we had to be careful. Yes, we had to wear masks. We needed to have more hygiene. The fact we were afraid to even go outside for walks, like, no wonder people started having vitamin D deficiency and having other health issues stemming from being stuck inside all day.
And most people I knew were like eating all day, drinking all day. I knew a lot of people that just went on benders.
I started drinking a little bit at the beginning too. Like,
I did too, a little bit.
People were going live on Instagram, be like, let's have like a little drinking party. I'm like, cool, I'll join.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's just do it. It's fine. We're stuck anyway. But that's not the best mindset to have with it either. And that eventually that's where I was just like, okay, I've got to make some changes. So further along, like, you know, probably about 6-7 months after the pandemic started, that's why I was like, no, I'm not going to sit inside anymore. Like, more and more studies kept coming out where heat helps, the sun helps. I was like, I'm going outside. I'm just going to walk. And I did. You know, I made it a point because, you know, we were in California at the time. So there's so much you can do out there anyway. I was in
California too.
So but you were just
and now we're up here. This was shortly before we met. So she got started on her journey before she started working with me.
Yeah. That's where I was like,
just walking is a good start. Like, if you were completely sedentary, you can just start walking. Literally go for a walk around the block. A week later, make it 2 rounds a block, then 3, like slowly increment, and then maybe even bump up your pace. Like, you could literally just start with walking. Now, if you aren't sedentary and you're already somewhat active, or you have a job where you're moving around a little bit more, yeah, you want to have a little bit more intensity. But like, if you were completely stagnant and you're overweight and you just need to have some time on your feet, like, walking is a good way to start.
Oh yeah, 100%. That's like when I'm done having, you know, being pregnant, that's what I'm going to start with, is walking, because, you know, little baby steps.
Exactly.
So little baby steps are going to get you. It's better than nothing.
Baby steps. Baby steps. If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. Yes, 100%.
Okay. So, you know, you got started, you were walking. You know, what were you doing before you started working with me? And then what changed after you started working with me?
I just kind of just followed my own little workout plan when I went to the gym. And what I did notice is, yeah, it made me a little stronger, but
there wasn't much intention.
No, there wasn't much. No, not at all. Because I would do things and I wouldn't see the muscle growth that I preferred. Obviously, I wasn't eating the best either. I was just kind of just eating normal, and I was just doing portion control. But portion control is good, but if you're eating like shit, and eating all this saturated fat, all these, you know, processed carbs, things like that, it doesn't do anything for you. It actually makes you feel worse. Like, you need energy to even be able to do, you know, your workouts, obviously. And if you're eating like crap, you're not going to get that, especially with the carbs. You're not going to do it at all.
I mean, like, carbs, you need carbs, like, for gym performance, for brain function, all that. But too much of a good thing is a bad thing. Same thing with saturated fats. Like, it's easy to overdo the good stuff to the point where your body metabolizes it so that it's not as beneficial, and it comes with its downsides. Like, a certain level of carbs, you're good, but too much, and you could develop insulin resistance. Too little fats, your hormones get fucked. Just the right amount, you're functional. Too much, you can have some coronary issues.
Not to mention that a lot of the things that you eat, you would think don't have like a lot of sugar in them, but if you look, almost everything
literally
has sugar.
Peanut butter, like, everywhere. Almost like you have to really put effort to find peanut butter that doesn't have a ton of added sugar to it.
Yep.
And then there's like fat-free products that are like diet. This is good for your diet. It's low calories, fat-free. But in order to make up for the lack of fat, because fat tastes fucking amazing, they pile on the sugar in there. And then you're eating more carbs and, developing more insulin resistance later on down the road.
Oh, yes.
And another thing too, so I know that you were training with not much intention at the gym. You weren't seeing the muscle progress that you were hoping to. Now, PCOS, it's a bitch to deal with. But the one thing is you have higher testosterone levels. So if you weren't building any muscle in the gym when you were working out and you have PCOS and you're not building muscle, like you definitely are not training with intention. You're not training with the intensity that you should. And something needs to shift because PCOS, you can actually improve PCOS by building muscle. And because you have higher testosterone, your ability to build muscle is you have a better capacity for it. So tell us a little bit about, what we did together when you first started and how those changes started to build up.
So we first started with a caloric deficit and we kind of just tracked the food that I was eating and everything that I was taking in, the water I was taking in.
Important.
Very, very important. I didn't think it was important at first, but it's definitely important. You kind of have to play around with it, honestly, because what works for one person isn't always going to work for everybody else. I know with me specifically, the high testosterone, I was insulin resistant. So when you're insulin resistant, you carry a lot of it in your midsection. And I have a short torso to begin with. So that's where all of it was sitting.
Mm-hmm.
Like my legs, they were so skinny. Like, and I don't even mean muscular skinny.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they were twigs. And same with my arms. So I would carry it in my face and just in here. So when I went on a caloric deficit, it was hard at first, like very hard for me because when you're insulin resistant, you have cravings. You crave. Like
your brain is like, I need this to feel functional.
Oh, 100%. But honestly, you end up feeling like crap.
Oh, yeah. You feel like crap once because the thing is, when you have insulin resistance, your energy might spike up really, really quickly, but you're going to crash down super hard because that insulin gets used up fast or it's not even utilized. Yeah. So you have to take in more sugar just to get some of the benefit of the carbs, but not all the carbs are being utilized for their intended purposes. And then the insulin, so there's like a few different types of insulin resistance. There's one where your pancreas just doesn't produce enough insulin, which can happen when you fatigue it from taking too much carbs. But if you also take in too much carbs over an extended period of time, it can produce malformed insulin. So that insulin isn't utilized really as insulin. And so you just have this extra insulin going through your system, not being utilized. So your blood sugar stays high. And then you suddenly crash and you feel like crap.
Absolutely. Spot on. And so after I started eating better and we just kind of we kept it. I'm trying to remember where we kept it. I think we started out at like 18 or 1900 calories a day.
I think we started more around 19 to 2000 because you were fairly active.
Yeah.
Oh wait, no, this was before we started your reverse. Yeah, we were like around 19 to 2000 calories and just slowly worked our way down, slowly increased your cardio.
It was hard for me at first because I was eating more sugar, but I wasn't eating enough either. I probably was
of the good carbs.
I was probably eating under 1400 calories a day before I started with you.
Yeah. So she came to me, she was kind of stalled out. She was struggling with her weight loss and she was eating under 1400 calories a day. We got her to 19 to 2000 and that was during her calorie deficit. Mm-hmm. Slowly increasing her cardio, having her train more effectively at the gym, more intention. So she's not just going and fucking around being like, what am I going to do? Lifting super light and, trying some new exercises.
I was like, because before I was just bouncing around. I was like, oh, that looks like it does something. Let's go do that.
That's literally what I did when I first started going to the gym too. That was literally just like me when I first started too.
And I see people do that too. Still to
yeah, I see it all the time.
And it's so hard to not just want to be like, it would help. But, you don't want to go and approach everybody. Well, I don't personally because I'm not.
Social anxiety.
Social anxiety. Yes. But the big thing for me with the PCOS was my hormones were all out of control. I didn't even do the Dutch test, which I wish I would have.
The Dutch test is expensive.
It is very
expensive. It's like
but the problem,
$500.
The doctors will give you a test and it's really just based off the average person in general, that they're not taking into account into like what's really going on with your body, like with your chemical makeup of your body or your genetics or anything like that. So I was really having a hard time getting pregnant. That was my big thing. I was having a period that was, my cycles were about 40 something to 50 something days.
That's a sign that she wasn't ovulating.
No, I wasn't ovulating at all. And when I would only very rarely notice it. So I went.
And some women out there, if you think, 40 days in between periods, like I would love to have that.
It's bad.
That means something is fucked with your reproductive system, and you need to address that. Like, we fucking hate periods. Like I don't like bleeding out of my hoo-ha every 28 days, but if it's on 28 days and I'm monitoring my symptoms, like it's a great indicator of your overall health as a woman. Like our bodies are like freaking superpowers if we know how to be mindful of our health, use our menstrual cycle to like know like how we are and make adjustments as we need.
100%. Like trust me, I would love to never ever have a period, but you having your period and how long your period lasts and
how heavy it is
really plays into a huge part of how your body's functioning. So I was barely ovulating. I would notice it on and off. I was even testing my ovulation, and it still wasn't lining up correctly with like how it was supposed to be schedule wise. So looking at my hormones, like my testosterone was high, my free testosterone was through the roof. I wasn't making enough progesterone, so I was having miscarriages, and that's because my progesterone was so low. For those of you who don't know, you need progesterone in order to keep that baby attached.
It also helps with anxiety.
Yes, it also helps with anxiety.
And sleep.
Yes, 100%.
Like I love being in my luteal phase, like the first week and a half of the luteal phase, and I'm just like sleeping like a rock. It's just like the best feeling. It's
amazing. So like I was really struggling with pregnancy. I was struggling with everything, and I wanted to give up so many times. And so then they started me on metformin.
And how long after? So when you started with me and when you started metformin, how long in between was that?
It's a good question. I think that it was like maybe 6 months in between.
And how much did you lose in between? Because metformin, it helps with regulating your blood sugar as well, but she had to be able to kind of regulate her blood sugar and her weight before she started. So how much did you lose before you started metformin?
I lost like 20 pounds, but that was over a good course. Like it happened fast. So that was another.
Because she started working out and eating better.
Exactly. The hard part with the metformin, though, is the reason I stopped taking, one of the reasons. I was having like heart palpitations and stuff like that. I was getting dizzy and lightheaded and irritable.
You're not the only client that I've had who's had that side effect from metformin.
Realistically, metformin is actually terrible for you, honestly. If long-term effect, it's actually really bad for you.
You need to be able to manage your symptoms and your health without it. Like it can be beneficial in the short term, but like you can't be dependent on it.
Yeah, it's not something you want to take forever at all.
And so, when did you start metformin again? Was it January of last year? Because I know we started in July of 2021. Last year was 2022.
It was probably the beginning of 2021.
Yeah, so that was like right before we started your reverse and your first bulk.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she, we got her calories down to about 1,900 at the low. She was also she was fairly active. Like she was working at Walmart. She was, getting some steps into. We actually had to decrease her cardio because of how many steps she did. So like, I don't like to overwork my clients. We want to make sure we have a decent amount of steps. We're taking in enough food to support energy. So that way, you don't want to like tank out at work and then not have energy to go work out. Like you want to make sure you're taking in enough food to support your energy levels. And then once she reached her goal, which was her pre-baby weight from when she had Alexis, she's 10 years old, right?
She's 10.
Yeah. She's 10 years old. Like it took her so many years to finally flip the switch, be like, okay, I got to get rid of this baby weight. She reached her pre-baby weight. And so we started her reverse. And if you think dieting is uncomfortable, think about switching your mindset from being in the dieter's mindset to now I'm going to go for growth, building muscle and building my metabolism. So next time you cut, it's a lot easier because you have more muscle, your metabolism is regulated, you've increased your thyroid hormones, your reproductive hormones are banging better. Pun definitely unintended, but it's there. But yeah, so we took her through her reverse. And how high did we get your calories again?
Oh boy.
It started to feel like a chore at one point.
We were almost, I think, at like 26 to 2,800.
Yeah, her metabolism, this bitch was barely gaining weight. Like she maybe gained like what, 3 pounds, 4 pounds in like the span of 6 months with her reverse. And we increased our calories by 700 a day. 700 calories a freaking day. And she starts building muscle. She's feeling good. When did you come off the metformin?
I come off the metformin probably about May.
Yeah.
2021.
So she came off the metformin about 3-4 months into her reverse. Now, mind you, reverse, we were increasing her carbs too. And even though if you eat too many carbs, you develop insulin resistance, if you increase them slowly and you're building muscle, your muscle helps you regulate your blood sugar better. So if you are struggling with your weight, you need to be building fucking muscle. You need to be lifting weights, like a little bit of cardio here. You need to be making the right choices for you at the moment. If you're eating under 1,400 calories a day and you are fairly, like you move, like you are alive, you need to eat more.
You really do, especially if you're more active. You need to be.
Yeah, if you're active, you need a substantial amount more. Like I have a lot of clients that I'm reversing right now. One, she was starting to prep for a competition and she was like stalled out. And so we swapped over and she's eating 300 more calories a day. And this bitch is like losing weight. And I'm like, it's okay.
All right. Well then.
Well, we know what your body needed. Well, you reached your pre-baby weight. You started reversing, got the metformin, and then we go to Base Canyon. And then we come back to a surprise.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I'll backtrack, if you don't mind me backtracking just a little.
Go right ahead.
Originally, when I got pregnant with my daughter 10 years ago, I was 145 pounds. When I first started ever losing weight, I was at 220. And then when I started working out with you
were 180.
I was like 180, 186. And then I surpassed, like you said, my pregnancy weight. And before I got pregnant with this little bun in the oven, I was at 126. So that's total since I started working out in general was over 100 pounds that I had lost.
And the first almost half of that was just from walking and being mindful about portions.
Yes. So for the Base Canyon and the surprise part, I didn't start my period before we left. And I was like, okay, I took probably about 6 tests the whole week before I left because I was bloated.
She had long periods before, so she's like, oh shit, it's just that again.
This is normal. This is fine. And then I come back and it still didn't happen. I was like, why am I still bloated? Why am I so puffy? And then I went and I grabbed about 4 pregnancy tests. And I took one and I was like, it's going to be negative. It's fine. I look at it and I'm like, oh, are we sure?
Baby's first base.
Then I took 3 more and all positive. And yeah, so here I am, 8 months pregnant at this point and still carrying. Things have been healthy the whole time. Things have been great. I think the only issue I've had is the iron, but
yeah. And the nausea. And your nausea was pretty crazy.
The nausea was terrible in the beginning, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it.
She works out every now and then still. We just modified her workout so that, protect the babe, but she still will work out every now and then just to maintain some of her strength.
Yeah. That way when I get back in there 4 weeks after I have this one, I'm ready to go. I'm already ready to go now, but I'm like, I know I'm limited, so I have to be like, no.
Yeah, there's a point where you can push, and there's a point where you're going to push, and then there's a point where you should not push.
No, 100%.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm so excited for you and your baby shower too. It's going to be fun.
I'm excited. Yeah, I'm ready. This has been a long time coming.
I told her when she delivers. So for all my fellow base heads out there, I told her when she delivers, she needs to do this. So she needs to scream, open up the fucking pit when she delivers. I told her, you got to do that. And she had, oh wait, I hope Ryan is probably not listening to this.
No, he's not,
okay, good. Yeah, I told her not to tell her husband so that way when he's in the delivery room and his wife is about to deliver, she just yells, open up the fucking pit.
I'm probably going to want to, because in that spur of the moment, you just want to yell at everybody in your vicinity. Everybody, because I'm going to try and go natural. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I want the medication offered or there if I need it. But this time, like, I do want to go natural, because when I get done, I want to be able to get up and walk around. I want to be able to, you know, get some steps in, because
strengthen your pelvic floor again.
Yes, it's really something that's good for you to do. I know a lot of women will still, you know, take medication, and that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But just know that it's harder for you to get up and just start walking around and doing things, because you got to have the feeling that comes back in your legs. Your legs are a little jello after you do that. But yeah, I'm thinking I'm confident with this one. And I think that, you know, all the exercise and the way I've taken care of my body over the last like year and a half, 2 years is really going to pay off. I'm excited to see how much it's going to pay off.
Yeah, like it's going to help your recovery. It's helped you. Like, you haven't had much back pain through this pregnancy, have you?
Not at all. No.
That's another thing. Like, a lot of pregnant women will have back pain, but if you strengthen your core and your back, and you improve your posture, like, you don't have to have back pain when you're pregnant. Ideally, you should be doing that before you get pregnant, even if it's not close on your radar. Like, now's the time to start strengthening yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the biggest thing, because like with my daughter, I had severe back pain. It was so bad. But this one, like, the body pain has been almost non-existent this go. I won't even lie. Like,
that's amazing.
Which is shocking, because like I said, with my daughter, everything ached. My knees ached, my feet ached, like my back, everything just hurt. But this time, it's like, for example, like I can wake up and not have enough sleep, not that I would prefer to have. But versus with my daughter, if that happened, I was just so stagnant, tired. I just wanted to nap all day. But if I start up and I get up and start going and moving, I'm great the rest of the day. The rest of the day is just golden.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm so glad that you felt more comfortable this pregnancy.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Of course. Of course. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you, honestly. And like, I could see that you just became a more confident, vibrant woman, more energy. And so I also want to go into like festivals. So if you're on here and you're like a festival fanatic too, like us, like we've got some stories coming up. Yeah. Like to see her energy just thrive at festivals and her stamina to keep up. Like, I'm extremely high energy at festivals. Like, I'm just everywhere. I'm bouncing. So she keeps up with me.
Yes.
She keeps up.
I have to. Look at you all over the place. Base bunny in it.
Even my husband struggles sometimes. If my husband's listening, I don't mean this in a bad way. I am a spaz. I am a spaz.
Ryan struggles too, and he's just like,
that's why they get along so well. They understand each other. They're like, there goes our crazy ass wives again, just bopping off into the distance.
That's why they hang around each other whenever we're all over the place. They're just like,
you're my wifey, they're hubbies.
Just let them go. Just let them go.
Yeah. So like, you know, we go to festivals, like we help rein each other in. We rage together and we can keep up with each other. But just like I've noticed, you know, since we met, because we met from it was Plur Sisters, right?
Yeah.
Like the group we met in Plur Sisters. Like I forget what the comment was. Like
I was looking for other base heads, and I was originally looking for other moms, and Dana was like, I'm not a mom, but I live up here, so you want to hang out? And like we hung out, and then from then on,
we just clicked.
Probably
because the ADHD.
Oh yeah, we're very similar and so.
I need that third drink. I need that third drink. I got the hot. I got the water. Now I just need the
cold soda.
Now I need the cold soda. I love stevia soda. That's like a crack.
Sugar-free soda.
Yeah, sugar-free soda. I like sometimes whenever I see my husband drinking regular soda, I almost want to like, because it's just pure sugar. Like, you know, regular soda, like in small quantities, fine. Like if you can only have regular soda, go for like the teeny tiny cans because there's a lot of sugar.
Just have self-control, because my husband will do the tiny cans and he'll be 3 or 4 cans in.
Oh man. So that's like another thing too. Like with diet foods, they're like, this is 100 calories for like those snacks. Like this is the thing my mom would do. She would buy skinny cow ice cream sandwiches and there'd be 6 in the pack. And like, while you have one, it's portion control, they're lighter. She would eat the whole thing in the span of 2 hours. It's like, that kind of negates the idea of portion control and lower calorie. Like if you get those 100 calorie snack packs, but you eat the whole box, it's 600 calories.
You still ate 600 calories.
That's not portion control. Like I would rather just eat a regular thing of Oreos than the little teeny tiny crackers. And it'd be the same amount of calories, maybe even less. Like if you have like one of those 6 packs of Oreos, I think that's like 100 calories less than a pack of 6 100 calorie packs. I totally just had an ADHD moment too. I've had something on my mind I was gonna say, and I totally forgot. Oh, okay. So how have you felt, at festivals, during your journey? Like what kind of differences did you notice? I know one was like you were a lot more free with your outfits.
Oh yes, body comfort was a big thing. I was able to look at myself in the mirror and see that change. I was like, you know what? If you got it, flaunt it. So that's just my motto with it. But I was able to express myself a little more without feeling like I had to just cover up everything.
Yeah.
And those of you who went to festivals, you're either going to be modest or you're going to, kind of
be almost naked.
Be almost naked. Because obviously you're dancing your ass off all day and night. You need to be able to cool yourself down. And for me, I'm sure for you too, the less clothing, the better.
Yeah, especially if you're in the crowd.
Yeah, especially if you're in the pit, which is it gets really hot there.
Or at the rail.
That's even worse.
One of my favorite places to be, but the hottest place to be.
Yep. It's like, just let me burn. It's fine.
This is fine. It's all fine.
But it gave me more confidence in my outfits. It gave me more endurance, that's for sure, because some of the treks that you have to make.
The gorge.
Lost Lands.
Oh my God.
Lost Lands from GA camping.
That's because we also had a really shitty spot. We had a shitty spot at Lost Lands. Like it's a hit or miss, but at Base Canyon at the Gorge, pretty much if you're GA or Premier, no matter where you are, unless you're Premier and you're taking the shuttle, like you are a hike away. Lost Lands, show up early enough, you might get a really good spot and not have to walk very far. But show up a little late, show up on not the early arrival day, and you are all the way hauling it across the venue or across the campgrounds, and it's big.
We're good about the treks. I think the only time that we just kind of gave up on the treks was when I had to go and catch my flight.
Yeah.
We hopped on the golf cart.
Oh my god.
That we weren't supposed to hop on, but they gave it to us anyway because it was like 3 a.m. in the
He was
morning.
nice. He was nice. This girl, okay. So this girl, that last night. So this wasn't last year. This was the year before last year. We had a group. We're going to Lost. She wasn't going until literally the day before day one. She was like, I found a ticket. I'm booking a flight. She flies over. What was it? Was it an overnight flight?
It was an overnight flight.
Overnight flight. She comes. I meet up with her. We get ready for day one. We go because she came because she wanted to see Kaiwachi back-to-back Sullivan King. Like Kaiwachi's her favorite. Sullivan King is my favorite. We both love both of them, but like we have different favorites. But the fact they're doing a back-to-back together, she's like, I can't freaking miss it. So we're like, okay, this is special. We're gonna go to the rail. So we ended up going to the rail for that set. It was like the best time ever. The Plur Rave fam has made me feel more confident than every.
That's right.
Yes. Like honestly, rave groups, festival groups, it's such a great community. And certain groups, like there'll be a bigger population from certain areas, but like if you're part of different groups, like some of those, like a lot of Plur sisters are up in the PNW. Perfect Rave fam is more SoCal based. There's some from all over. Mm-hmm. So there's great ones everywhere. And then so we like rage all 3 days, and last day we go to the after parties because there was Brondo closing out, and I was like,
phenomenal.
Yes, that was so freaking fun. Like we even got like up on the like apparently they weren't supposed to let people up there, but the security guard let us up there, and we were like on the platform behind the stage just looking down at Brondo playing a freaking amazing set. Like Brondo throws the hell down. If you haven't seen him, highly recommend.
Check out Banana Bread on SoundCloud. Listen to Banana Bread, and you'll understand why.
I love that song. Banana Bread at work today, dude. Hell yeah. And then after his set, we go back to camp. Everyone else is going to sleep, but she has to pack up and catch a flight because she had work that morning. All the way across the country.
I called out. I'm not gonna lie. I called out. It's okay.
She tried her best. She tried her best, but like her energy carried through. And so like another thing we do at festivals too is like we determine which day is going to be our like no sleep day. Because like you have after parties. Like a lot of camping festivals now, they'll have like campground after parties. and they're popping. And we just like the last day lost sign just so happened to be like really great after party. So the night in between day 1 and day 3, we went to bed kind of early on day 2. So like after the event ends, we went right to bed because sleep's important, and you kind of have to pick which night is going to be your I'm not sleeping night. Because I personally I can handle most people can handle one night where they don't sleep too well, like maybe like 2 or 3 hours, and you're like you'll feel kind of shitty. A little extra coffee, caffeine helps. As long as on the other days you are going to bed a decent hour and allowing yourself to sleep more, like taking something to like help you sleep. If you're allowed to, there's edibles, you could take melatonin. Be wary of certain sleep aids, especially if you are partaking in certain things. I think you know what I mean, because there are always some interactions. So find something that works for you that you could sleep on. Always like check, for interactions online. Dance Safe is a great resource, and also make sure you have test kits. If you know. But we value sleep to make sure that we have enough energy to carry through. And we would also, is he kicking?
He was for a
He's
second.
kicking? He's like, you guys are talking dubstep. I can feel him.
You felt him?
I can feel him a little bit.
Yep, his little taps.
Yes. we would wake up early at camping festivals, and then not early. No, we wake up, not wake up early because there's no rush to wake up.
No.
Try to sleep in as much as possible, y'all. Earplugs, eye mask, the works.
Yes.
We would stretch and do some mobility. We'd have a massage gun, or sometimes we would give each other like neck massages, and make sure you get protein in a breakfast. So we would have our coffee and we mix protein into the coffee, because sometimes when you wake up, you don't have a huge appetite. Now, I don't like to drink coffee on an empty stomach too much in the mornings, but at festivals, it's kind of like if you've only slept 4 or 5 hours, it's a little bit, you need that boost to get you up.
Yes.
Not a good habit to have every day, but
you need to eat.
You need to eat. So we would make sure we'd have a decent breakfast. Now, I know a lot of girls out there, when you're at festivals, you don't want to eat breakfast because you're worried about looking bloated in your outfits. But if you're eating whole food, and festivals like the one time where I won't take in a ton of fiber just because, like broccoli, if it's cooked the wrong way, it makes me bloated, and certain vegetables. So I'll have oatmeal at breakfast. We'd have like some oatmeal, maybe some pancakes and eggs. We'd have our protein mixed in our coffee, making sure you're starting off the day with food, because if you don't, you're going to crash. Or you might feel really hungry at the venue, and you're going to go to a vendor and they're not going to cook your vegetables right. And then you're going to feel bloated, and you're going to think, wow, this happens every time I eat. I guess I'm not eating this festival. And it's like, no, you just need to eat better, and you won't feel bloated, and you'll have more energy. Like, you're not going to get bloated if you're eating well and you're drinking your water.
Not to mention, vendors don't necessarily have the best foods for you that are going to make you feel good through the festival.
Yeah.
The more grease, the more cheese, all that stuff is going to make you feel sluggish. And it's going to bloat you. That's for sure. It's going to.
Although somehow chicken tenders never do that to me.
Chicken tendies.
You need more than one chicken tendy, though.
You need more than one.
You need more than one.
All the chicken tendies.
I'm proud that this girl, so for anybody up in the PNW or who's a headbanger who knows of Thunderdome, she's 8 months pregnant right now. Last month she was 7 months pregnant, and she went to Thunderdome.
I did.
She went to Thunderdome.
I did.
It was such a good
time. No regrets at all.
No regrets.
No regret.
Yeah, that meal prep set was absolutely.
I wasn't missing that.
That was amazing.
Missing it. Like, I was going, and I was not going to miss that. That's why I was like, I have to go.
Yeah. So we just going to festivals is like a big thing. Like, definitely gonna miss, for a little bit because, obvious reasons.
Yeah.
She's got a little one to care for, but she's gonna get back into her fitness and lifting and recover from this baby and be strong and, a great role model for kids. Because again, if you have parents who don't necessarily have the best habits, who have poor health, you can break that cycle. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to fall in line with what's going on with your family. It's tough, and you have to face uncomfortable truths along the way and be honest with yourself and be willing to change. But it's entirely possible. Like, look at her. Look at this woman. Look at her. And like, my mom's also not the healthiest. My dad, also another thing too, my dad passed away from a heart attack on St. Patrick's Day when I was 14. And while he had some other health issues that were probably beyond his control, although I honestly think it was from smoking, he had MS. When he was diagnosed, he gave no more shits about his health, even though he could have slowed the progression of the disease by taking better care of his health. Of course, there's only so much you can do. he like smoked, he drank, he ate candy all the time, junk food, fast food. And, you know, I woke up one morning and I found out that I was never going to see my dad again. Now, my mom and dad were never married. Like he wasn't the best dad, but you know, I like to attribute some of my brains to him because he was a scientist apparently for NASA. Like he used to work with rare earth metals and stuff. But like, you know, I don't want to, because I'm already predisposed to these health conditions because of my family history. And I'm like, I'm going to be the one to break that. I'm going to break that cycle because, you know, I don't want to die early. I don't want to become bedridden and my only entertainment is just, you know, watching TV all the time and eating. Like there's so much more that we can explore in this world, and like so many other festivals to go to. Like there's so many. I want to go to freaking Tomorrow World.
There's so many things to see, so many things to do, and
go to Paris someday.
If you don't
Hawaii.
If you don't take care of your body when you're younger, or
if you don't take care of your body in general,
yeah,
if you do go to these places, you're not going to enjoy it as much.
No, your energy and the way your bones and everything handle everything is
your joints. Like if you're 20 right now, you might think you're invincible, but when you're 30, when you're 40, it's going to slow. It's going to creep up on you. And at some point it's just going to come down hard.
I'm 30. And I mean, I can be honest, you know, I don't have that problem, but that's because I take care of my body too.
Yeah. She felt worse when she was 26.
I felt worse when I was 26 versus now.
Yeah. You could turn it back.
Yeah.
You could turn it back, but you don't want to keep thinking, oh, I could turn it back at some other point. I could turn it back later. I could turn it back later. You know, I'm 25, even though I'm not very healthy and I'm kind of in pain. Like I can always turn it back later. Like there is going to be a point of not necessarily no return. Like, yes, there's a point of no return, but there are points at which it becomes increasingly harder and harder and harder. And you have to ask yourself, are you going to be more mentally capable of that change as it gets harder? Because if you think it's hard now, if you think that it's difficult changing your habits now and you keep pushing it off 10 years away, it's going to be 100 times harder. And if you were not mentally capable of change now, what makes you think you're going to be mentally capable of change 10 years from now when it is harder, when it is more, not necessarily irreversible, but you're going to have to go through a lot more extreme measures. And if you're a woman and you wait until perimenopause or menopause years, it's going to be a lot harder. Now, I have some clients who are premenopausal and menopausal. It's not impossible to see the progress, but it takes a lot more time. It takes a lot more effort. And you really have to look at like more of the details, because it's not just like, okay, you can go for some walks and just, you know, track your nutrition. No, you have to look at what foods are more triggering. What foods are you overdoing it? We might need to alter your fat and your carbs to be in the right balance, but you have to be consistent with your calorie intake first and lift weights. And, you know, there's just so many things, but a great inspiration though is Train with Joanne on Instagram. She started lifting when she was like 65 and she is just jacked now.
Oh, I follow her and she is like an idol. I'm like, I want to look like that.
She's amazing, but it took her quite a few years. But it comes with like a lot more struggles the longer you wait. So, you know, the best time to start working on you is this moment, because if you think that you're going to be mentally stronger in 10 years, you don't know what life is going to throw your way. You're the strongest now. And you can change now, but you have to be willing to go through that change.
Yes. The change is going to be uncomfortable at first.
Very uncomfortable. And there's going to be like setbacks. There's going to be like, you know, rocky roads where you might fall off track. You might, you know, eat something that didn't make you feel so good, or you have a week where you fall off the gym. You know, but you know, keep getting back on, rebuilding that momentum, like you can make it freaking happen.
Oh yeah. And that's okay. As long as you don't like stay off of the wagon like that, then you'll be fine.
And having support really helps, like having somebody to help rein you in, because it's really easy to get stuck in your own head when you fall off track and you're like, wow, I didn't make any progress and it's my own fault. And then you feel like you're not capable. Like having somebody to kind of like give you a little pat, be like, hey, let's rein it in. Let's kind of figure out what were your triggers. What can we do to rebuild that momentum? How can we reduce some of your stress and keep you from falling into that negative thought process again?
Yes.
Like that was a big thing. I know we talked about that in some of your check-ins too.
Yeah. I would always reach back out. Even like when we didn't have check-ins, I would still be like, hey, I'm feeling this way and I don't know how to work through it. And we would just kind of meet up again.
Yeah.
And just
be vocal. Like talk about, you know, like if you have a support system or a coach, like tell them if you're struggling, tell them what's going on. Like your support system and your friends and your coaches, they can't read your minds.
No.
You have to be honest, not just with you, but also your support system, because, you know, even if you're honest with yourself, again, it's easy to get stuck into the thought process like, oh, well, I fucked up and this is just typical me, even you're acknowledging it. But if you have somebody there to kind of help put things into a different perspective, it can be a game changer.
Especially if you got a good coach. Just saying. Having a good coach is a big thing too.
I'm so
I love you.
I love you too. This is the most fun podcast so far. I need to have people on more often. Like
I was nervous about it, but it's fun.
It's very chill. It's very chill. Definitely need to do it again. We'll come up with some other topics or some point. But maybe we should I don't think you've hung out with Tyler too much yet, but I want to get
yet.
Yeah, we'll have like a three.
We should.
Podcast.
Yeah, we should do that.
I'm meeting with her tomorrow. Yeah.
You guys should go over it and then we'll reach back and we'll circle back.
Oh, and also for all headbangers. So Tyler and I, my other friend, we're working on coming up with a pitch for Base Canyon Lost Lands. Like if you camp, you know how they have yoga? We're trying to pitch like a base head spine prehab course thing. So instead of yoga, it's like mobility and back strengthening exercises. So when you go headbang, you're less likely to get hurt, injured, and less neck pain. So that way you can go back to work, earn money, and go to more events and invest into your health, invest into some cute gym clothes and a gym membership and a nice water hydration system. And if you're ADHD, get more drinks. Got your caffeine, your water. Now I'm just missing my other one. Anyway, thank you so much for joining today. This was a blast, and we'll definitely do it again.
I enjoyed it.
If you found any value in this podcast or enjoyed our conversation, please make sure to like and give a 5-star rating on Spotify. Share this if you thought it was funny or you got some value from it, or just, want to share some fun information for other festival fanatics. And follow me on Instagram at Dana F. Fit, or on YouTube. I'm starting to upload the podcast on there and also some shorts. And I'll probably also get some vlogs in there at some point. It's just talking to a camera can sometimes be very hard. Social anxiety, even though it's nobody there. I feel like it's like reverse social anxiety. There's nobody there.
Yeah.
I have more social anxiety talking to a camera than I do talking to a person. It's funny how that flips.
I feel that.
Thank you for joining us today. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, everyone.